To understand how tariffs could hit consumers and, in fact, the general economy, perhaps we should take a second or two to just show you how they actually work. Imagine a foreign shoe company. It makes its products abroad and then exports them to the United States. Once those goods arrive, the importer pays the tariff to the US Treasury. They pay literally a tax on the tariff. Then the company's leadership that's bought them must decide whether to eat the cost or pass it along to the consumer, or more likely some combination in reality. Because what happens is the consumer will pay a little bit more, the margins and the profits for the retailer will be lower because they can't make as much, and the exporter will be disincentivized to send things to the United States in the first place. The Peterson Institute says consumers bear the brunt for Donald Trump's tariff plans, and it could cost a typical US household more than $2,500 a year. The White House says that's probably likely to be more than $4,000. Mary Loverly wrote that report at Peterson, senior fellow at the Institute. Mary's with me now. I read the report, and look, we've all been around this long enough. What I can't understand is, and I'm not asking for a political answer here, but how can people still make the argument that widespread tariffs actually pay for themselves and is not a tax on consumers?
I frankly don't know how they can still make the argument, because the evidence points consistently in the opposite direction. That is, that it is the buyer who pays the tariffs. We know this now with great certainty because we've just been through this enormous experiment, which is called the Trump-era trade war, and we saw in our own customs records how prices changed, and largely the prices that buyers on the American side paid rose one for one with the tariffs.
But this argument, and I'm being fair to both sides, this argument is that the tariff that the importer pays, or the exporter pays via the importer, that tax that is paid will bring more money into the government and therefore will help pay for social spending, will help bring down the deficit.
Well, it's a small portion of what is needed. We could perhaps talk about President Trump's claim that it could replace the income tax, which of course it cannot. But what we saw last time was that most of that money, basically all and then some, went to support farmers who were hurt by retaliation from China in response to the US tariffs. And we certainly expect that there will be retaliation to the type of broad-based tariffs that former President Trump is proposing this time around.
So how do you justify what, if you do, or explain, maybe that's, you don't have to justify, perhaps you can explain to me, if you'd be as kind. How do, for example, the Democrats didn't lift those tariffs? Most of those tariffs remain in place, which slightly negates the argument that they were offering in the first place against them when they were introduced.
Yeah, that's always been a bit of a question, because when Joe Biden was a candidate, he quite accurately criticized the Trump trade war tariffs. However, once in office, I think he found it very difficult to reform those tariffs, partly because tariffs create their own constituency. Some firms do benefit. They're a minority of firms, but they do receive protection, and they'll argue to keep the tariffs. And
Right.
Secondly, there is a widespread view in the US that we need to decouple or de-risk from China.
Mm-hmm.
And these tariffs did have the effect of reducing direct imports from China.
I know Peterson's not against tariffs per se. Targeted tariffs have a place in a well-balanced trade policy. Would you agree?
I would agree, certainly. We have seen in the United States longstanding so-called administered protection system, which includes things like countervailing duties to counteract unfair subsidies, or anti-dumping to prevent dumping of low-priced goods in the U.S. market, or even safeguards to allow for orderly adjustment in the United States. All of those tools are still present, and they require a certain process to ensure that they're used appropriately and not subject to corrupting influences. That in fact, one of those tools, a different tool, Section 301, was
Right.
used under the Trump administration to get the China tariffs.
Our dear old friend, Section 301, which I am pretty certain we'll hear a great deal more of if President Trump wins. Mary, if depending on the result, one way or t'other, we know that we'll be looking forward to talking to you a great deal more. Thank you very much in the future.
Thank you.
This